it's so much easier than building everything from scratch when you can just build a whole bunch of things that you can like hot swap in to like create a marketing campaign.
Sharp strategies, sweet success.
I went out to this women's leadership summit out in South Carolina earlier this week on Wednesday and Thursday. And if you want to talk about a team building experience, set an agenda where you have less than 3 hours worth of free time in both days. The flight took off like at 9:30 something. And they grounded all the flights because of that Microsoft update
Oh
glitch
my
at
God.
4 a.m. or 1 a.m. So we were 4 hours away from getting grounded in Atlanta.
Nice.
Oh,
I
God. Even crazier thing, Nathan was on FlightAware, and he's, like, watching my flight and everything, and he's like, "Babe, all of these flights, like, these landing flights, their next flight off is saying that there's a delay for an unknown reason." He was like, "30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes." He's like, "What's going on with these flights?" It wasn't mine. Mine had already taken off, thank God. But that was right around 1 a.m. when they were like, "Okay, we can't schedule any of the pilots. We can't get these flight plans mapped out." There's storms in the area, like, it was in wrapping around the fleet. I started looking into it, and, I mean, it is just it's so funny for so many different reasons, like, some, like, maybe I'm not quite sophisticated enough to, like, actually explain on a podcast, but the guy just changed, like, he posted the code that he changed in Twitter and just showed it was just, like, 2 lines of code that was just so simple, and he just made this update, and it took down this huge network of systems, and it was insane. It was insane. Like, 1, he shouldn't have been able to do it, like, push out a code like that live. And then 2, yeah, it showed, like, how vulnerable all these systems are. And then, like, a lot of government systems, though, they were unaffected because they're on closed network. Like, this is like somebody accessing a public network that so many other systems are dependent on. Kinda wild, like, what damage that poor guy did. So I'll be honest. So this episode coming out of the Great Legal Marketing Mastermind, and like Christine, you probably heard this before. Maybe not everyone listening has, but before I started my own company, my own marketing agency as a fractional CMO, doing all this legal marketing stuff, I learned legal marketing through Ben Glass and Great Legal Marketing, and spent 2 days like with his team at his office, talking to all of his mastermind members, and it got me thinking like, what are the lessons that I learned working for Ben Glass that are essential for anyone in legal marketing or who's doing legal marketing? What are the core lessons that must know? And so I have a
Nice.
list here. Yeah. So I have a list, and I only have 5 things on the list though. But I titled it 6 things. So I don't know if I'm gonna add an extra thing at some point in this podcast that I suddenly remember, or if we're just gonna stick to the 5 that I actually wrote down, but that's what we're talking about. Essential lesson number 1 for all legal marketers, think of your marketing as modular. And I guess I landed on that because here lately I've been on a kick about how I think businesses should focus on building up their marketing assets or their marketing library, which is going to be things like their website, their creatives, what they use on social media, their ads. And I want them to think of marketing as modular because it's so much easier than building everything from scratch when you can just build a whole bunch of things that you can like hot swap in to like create a marketing campaign. I'm trying to think of like maybe something we did, like a patchwork quilt or something of marketing campaigns. But it's also nice to think of everything as modular because like, for a law firm, there are only like so many like offers that you can make. So you can invite people to a free consultation so the attorney can talk to them and they can get some information about their case. Or you can invite them to download an ebook, watch a webinar, download a report. And these are pretty much the primary ways that you can get into a legal marketing funnel. And if you think of your marketing as modular, then and everything leads back to those funnels, then it's just much easier to create marketing at scale. And instead of doing everything from scratch, just creating all these pieces you can assemble and slot together. But
feels like a long-winded way to get started, but that's what I wanted to start with. Think of your marketing as modular.
Well, that makes sense because if you have the basic foundation, like, in place, you can swap out what the details are and
Yeah.
then just kind of use the model. If the process works, you can follow the process and have it outlined in a particular way where you can just interchange different criteria and maybe even move some things around in that chain of events so that you have a modular design.
Yeah. No, you're talking about a marketing funnel basically, and that's exactly what we're talking about is marketing funnels for law firms. And one thing that, if you have a personal injury law firm, almost every personal injury law firm is going to have some form or variation of the call list for a free consultation. And so there are a lot of ways you can, like, spin the free consultation to make it cool and interesting. You can call it something that's not free consultation, you can call it a free claim review. There are a lot of different directions you can take that and not just have it be the boring same old that everyone else does. But for all these firms, it's like it all leads back to a phone call. Like, at some point, somebody has to call your law firm and talk to you about their case, or you have to call them. And so, like, when you think about it like that, like, there are many starting points and there are many journeys somebody might take to get to that phone call. It all does lead back to the phone call. And so if you're building anything that's just like a good, I guess, touchstone or touch point or an anchor maybe to keep yourself on the right goal.
Whenever you talk about having a modular design, obviously there are certain elements that are kind of fixed in that process. Would you say yes?
Yeah, yeah. There are some like the phone call. The phone call that,
So that's just one part in the modular process. Is there a priority? Like you talk about the funnel, obviously you have an objective that you're trying to reach. What would you say is the priority of those foundational elements to your modular design? If I only have less than a week to put something together that I'm going to continue to use and continue to build on, maybe I'm not going to get everything in there, but I'm gonna get as much as I can, and I want the things that have to be in place that are most important to be the top priority items that I focus on first.
so let's just imagine that you're like, if I'm gonna imagine that you're a marketer. It's day 1 of your role at a law firm, and what do you do first? Like, what first steps do you take to work on that funnel? I think it's, like, twofold because there's working on the forms, and then there's working on the phones, and so, like, to get started to make sure your funnel is as it should be, you need to get a handle on what happens when somebody does contact the firm and what happens when they do call. So make sure your intake systems, that's what we usually call them, like, if you spend all this money to generate a lead, let's say you convince the law firm to let you spend, $5,000 a month on PPC ads. You wanna be sure whatever you spend on PPC ads, you're not just sending down a chain where they call the law firm, then their phone call is ignored, they're left hanging, there's no follow-up. That's definitely a situation you don't wanna be in. So you need to first make sure, like, all of those systems are in place. So when somebody calls the firm, the intake team knows how to handle that call, knows what kind of marketing follow-up they should get after the fact. And then similarly, like with your contact form, like if that's like this stage 1 funnel on your website, what happens when somebody fills out a contact form? Who gets notified? Do they know how to respond? How do they respond? What's the automation? That's something that before anything else, like before any other part of the marketing funnel or any other marketing idea you have, you need to make sure those 2 pieces are working.
That makes a lot of sense because if your product works, which is your intention certainly is, right? You
Yeah.
want it to work. You gotta have a place to give your customers the best experience. So have a place for them to land. So set that little landing spot up first, make it very well equipped, refined, and make it top quality, and then go turn the crank and get the marketing strategy going and actually getting more eyes to fall in that bed of customer service.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely need sometimes, like, people call it, like, the leaky bucket, like because 'cause you're pouring leads into a bucket, the imagery, And then, like, if those leads are falling out, like if there are holes in the bottom and they're just flowing through, what they're doing is the marketing is generating the lead, they're going through your funnel, but the conversion systems aren't there. And so the people are just calling like other law firms. I wish to have the data like on deck because like the actual numbers are really interesting. But I think it's something like 20% of there's like a study done where like a company filled out like 400 forms for legal services at law firms. They just went to a bunch of law firm websites, filled out forms, and then saw how quickly the law firm responded. And 27% responded in like the first 1 to 2 minutes. And then like most everyone else like fell in the bracket of like 5 minutes to never send any follow up at all. And so you're gonna like even if you do a successful job of marketing for a law firm and getting a ton of leads in their pipeline, it's still not gonna be a net win for the law firm if they can't sign any of those cases. So it's really important that the law firm be able to like sign those cases and take care of people when they call them and make people feel like they've been heard and get people feel like they've been listened to, and then just keep in touch with them to make sure that they actually get the help they need.
Yeah, especially that follow-up piece. One of the things around the in my work environment is follow-up is everything. Inspect what you expect.
Wait, hold on. What did you say? Expect or inspect what you expect?
Inspect what you expect.
Okay, that's what I thought. Then I was like, did she say expect what you expect? Because I mean, both can work, but yeah.
I
Um,
well dyslexia like that. So just don't.
I have I do that really bad too. Like reading stuff aloud like trips me up sometimes because I'll say the wrong word, and I'm really bad at rights and lefts for some reason.
I don't even
Um,
realize I do it, and I'll be in like a meeting with people, and I'll say something completely backwards, and I'll look at people like, yeah,
yeah, yeah. There's
no, I
something.
just have to work on it.
That's what I meant. I
Like I
meant that.
know what I meant. Moving on.
I think it happens to everyone. Well, I mean, okay, so inspect what you expect. I I don't think this is the point you were trying to make, but that's a good phrase for like also like something else having to do with follow up. But like if you like take a second look at everything that you expect is working, you know? Like if you think people are calling your law firm and a certain thing is happening after they call, make sure it's actually happening. And that's important for the business owner and for the marketer as well, just to like verify all of the steps are happening after somebody calls. And it's not just, I told Susie at reception 6 months ago to follow up with each lead. And is she, isn't she? You really have to like look over the intake team's shoulder, particularly if they're not used to being led by a marketing team or if the firm is really, really new at marketing. Because, like, a lot of times small law firms just have the worst phone systems you can ever imagine for some reason. Law firms are notoriously bad at handling phones, and until they start to pay attention, until they start to actually look at these systems, they don't know what's wrong. I feel like we've talked about this before, but I know of firms who their receptionist will still answer by saying, "Law firm." I think law firms are getting better about this overall, but, yeah, like, they still do that. Or
The law firm.
or no, just law firm. Law
Law
firm.
firm.
Law firm. And then, like, that's not maybe not as common as it used to be, but, like or, like, the receptionist is, like, doing intakes out of, like, a Word document just saved on the desktop of her computer or something like that, and it's like, type somebody's name, says they called about a medical malpractice case, and then saves it, and then, like, that's it. Like, nobody but her can open up that document and look at it unless she's asked about it, and, like, those kinds of weird dependencies anyway. So, I mean, the point I started with is making your marketing modular so you can hot swap out like things like landing pages or creatives. Point number 2 though, you aren't like your potential client. And that's I feel like is an important note for a variety of different reasons because I feel like a lot of people just assume that they're representative of a large portion of the population, like in their habits or how they think about things when maybe that's not necessarily true. It's kinda like, somebody who using the example of a baby marketer, they come out of college and they step into a business and they position themselves as like maybe like the I understand what Gen Z wants, therefore listen to me and listen to my opinions. But maybe, they represent only a small portion of Gen Z and not Gen Z as a whole. That Gen Z is a huge group of people after all. And then also maybe they're just overestimating, how much what they do is actually normal. And then also kind of on the other end of it, like I'll talk to business owners who, they're the type of people who get like 1,000 emails a day and they have an executive assistant who reads their emails on their behalf and they get a list of whatever information came out of their email that day, at the end of the business day. They don't look at their emails, and email is like a huge pain point for a business owner because it's such a big thing and it's so hard for them to manage. And so, yeah, they have an executive assistant. They don't look in emails, and the idea of them wanting more emails is absurd. But like I, as I point out to them and as we kind of see in marketing, in the marketing data, like some people like email. Like not everyone likes emails, but some people do. Some people open emails, some people read emails. It's hard to convince the business owner who dreads looking at their inbox that sending email marketing is valuable. And yes, some people look at it because some people don't have the same pain points that you might about email. And so like and then just at the surface level, just like take away everything that I just said. I think this is the most important point. Like if you're a law firm, or if you're a law firm, if you're an attorney and you own a law firm, you are not like any of your potential clients. Because if you were to get into a car accident, you wouldn't need to find an attorney to help you handle it. You would probably just handle it. So there's nobody in your pool of potential clients who's gonna be anywhere close to that level of experience, level of expertise. They're just not gonna think the same way you do. They're just different. Attorneys are different than their pool of potential clients usually.
Might be worth it to maybe have some lifestyle type questions maybe? Like, "Hey, how familiar are you with this whole world? Have you ever gone through something like this before?" Because I know that as a client, like, if I were to hire an attorney, one of the first things that I would do is tell them my story. Like, I wouldn't even wait for them to give me the chance. I'd be like, "Let me tell you what happened to me." But I know that a lot of people want to get that out there, and that first response from the attorney means everything. That is where your trust is about to be built. If you do not respond to me in an empathetic and understanding way and gain my confidence with a solid plan that I can understand and is easy to follow, I'm not going to be on the hook. And I'm probably going to be very skeptical and give you a hard time. So if you wanna have that trust, that cooperation from early on, it starts probably not just with the first interactions. Yes, you're kind of in the honeymoon stage at that point, but from the moment that they tell their story, that initial response. Would you say so, or is there something I'm missing there?
Oh no, I mean you're dead on because like the for most law firms, the lead attorney is the one converting the client because they're usually not always like some law firms can actually sign clients without the law firm talking or without the client talking to an and so the law firms who are best at selling, who are best at getting clients to sign are usually the most relatable attorneys that I know. And I'm thinking of actually 3 in particular who, when you get them in a meeting, they don't need like sales coaching. They don't need any like additional tips. They're just like, hey, I'm going to be real with you and able to connect with like the potential client at that level. I think where kind of comes up in marketing that we get away from this, like that connection with the client is because like a lot of law firms who grow, like if you own a law firm and you grow that law firm, usually, the more the law firm grows and the more money you're able to make, the better your marketing is and all that good stuff. The less that lead attorney, the owner, is doing these one-on-one interactions with clients. And I mean, for good reasons because they own a successful business and they have to spend more time doing things other than the practice of law. And it becomes like this weird catch 22 of growing a law firm. And so your other attorneys who are like your associates or your other partners are doing more of those one-on-one interactions. And I think we just forget, I think we forget how to be that down to earth person or how to relate or just like not talking to people from the pool of potential clients and kind of getting back to like what's important to them and understanding their needs. And so like you do have to like go back and talk to the people who are actually talking to your potential clients and like getting to understand the heart of it. And, it depends on the law firm, but sometimes those potential clients, what's important to them isn't how much money they're getting from the case or how big their settlement's going to be. What's important to them are, well, getting justice. Like they've been injured and feeling like they've actually been the other person who hurt them got punished in some way and just the getting justice for their injuries. But, then again, for some clients, sometimes it is the money. Sometimes they want the biggest payout to help them like financially support them through the rest of their lives. And so you do have to go back. You have to reconnect. You have to talk to the intake teams, talk to the attorneys. Otherwise, you're gonna forget and you're gonna forget what they do, how they act, what's important to them.
Oh, that'd be a really good first question to ask. Like, what are you wanting to get more if you had to choose between one of these 2 concepts, what do you want out of the result of this case? Do you want justice or do you want a payout? If you could only choose one or the other. My goal is to get you both, but if you could only choose one or the other, honestly, which one would it be?
I mean, that's two questions on a litany of questions we could ask our potential client. I mean, what do you want the most? Like, what do you want the most from the case? What's important to you? And then also, like, how do you want to like something simple like how do you want to receive communications from this law firm? And just seeing how many people want like real phone calls, want text updates, want email updates, because like simple stuff like that, like we can assume that you know, like I said, going back to the email problem, like I don't like receiving text messages, but a lot of people do, and just figuring that out and getting in touch with it again, getting in touch with what they really really want.
I always like getting a brief like a quick little excerpt recap. "Hey, I've got some news on I've got some good news about this topic. When can you call me?" I do like a phone call. And it's funny though, because a lot of my people at work, they're like, "Oh, I don't wanna call you on my day off." I'm like, "Yeah, but if you text me, I'm gonna be sitting there for like 30 minutes critiquing this text I send you back. I would rather just talk and then make me say my words in the moment."
I don't know, like, I'm better on page, I think, than I am in person, like, I know, like, for me, speaking wise, like, I feel like when I start talking, it's hard to keep up with what I'm saying, and so, like, a lot of times, like, I'm kind of the email person because I like to, like, review what I've written, and it's like, "Do I mean that? Do I say that?" It helps me, like, eliminate communication, but, like, if I'm talking with, like, a business, like, I kinda want them to call me, like, or text me, I guess, but, like, I definitely don't want them to email me. And, yeah, I'm not gonna look at that. I'm not gonna get the notification on my phone. But my
I just
husband, like,
recently linked I just recently linked my phone my work email to my phone, and now I get updates on my watch,
you need
and
to quit
I'm just
doing that.
like I just did it for the first time in 11 years. I've never had my work email on my phone, but I wanted to show Nathan something that I was really proud of that I sent. I did this credit and adjustment analysis for, anyway, it was really well put together and organized. I had to, but it was in my outbox. So I had to download all of that. And I was like, for the first time, I hope you appreciate that. And he was like, yeah, it looks great. I'm like, all of that work for an A looks great. That is great. Best credit analysis you've ever seen in your life.
Those it's so funny because those, like, Excel projects where you put in a lot of hard work and, like, the end result is something really impressive, but it's always so hard to communicate, like, why this is important to an outsider. I
I even did color coding on it and everything, and I'm like, "See how organized this is." He's like, "I have no clue what I'm looking at."
You are not like your potential client, so don't make assumptions about what they will like, what they don't like. Really, like, you need to test everything anyway. And so, like, your potential clients will tell you what they like or don't like. So just implement your marketing, test your marketing, and you'll find out. So my next one is when in doubt, focus on output. Because I get this a lot when other attorneys, like if I'm at a conference, another attorney will come up to me and say, like, I have no idea what my marketing department is doing. I have no idea if my marketing is working. And I was trying to help them out in the moment. I'm always like, okay, well, tell me a little bit about this, tell me a little bit about that, and try to like give them like a quick, like in the moment consult. But even those sometimes kind of suck because it's hard without like actual data and without actually seeing the numbers
Context.
yeah, because sometimes that context is so important. And then like business owners generally have a very poor understanding of what their marketing data actually is. And so we definitely do need those like concrete numbers. But anyway, but like I try to think like, okay, what do I tell like all these people who ask me this question? And really like it's easy to measure if you just focus on the output. Like how many blogs are we writing each week? How many social media posts are we posting each day? How many emails are going out? And just figuring out like what your marketer and what your marketing is doing by how much marketing you're creating. And I think that's like the easiest way to kind of figure it out. Like if you're not sure what else is going on or if anything else is working.
Yeah, because if you trust the process, you have to trust some process. The process you shouldn't trust is doing nothing. That's not a good process to trust. Just burying your head in the sand. That'll get you nowhere. But at least if you're putting some kind of output out, you can make it better. You can actually look into it. There is data that can be collected with output of some kind. And then you can use that to as a building block to get you to where you eventually want to go. Get rid of what doesn't work, change things that could be better, try it again, measure it, tweak it, try it again. It feels like that kind of like that wash, rinse, repeat. But I think that a major overhaul, like, have you ever seen a marketing firm just do a complete major overhaul to their marketing strategy and how like, what happened with all of that?
I mean, yes. Yes, I definitely have major overhauls to website, to brand images, to messaging. I've seen like a consultant come into a law firm and just they were changing everything. And then but there's a difference between like creating the plan for changing everything and actually like changing everything. I've never actually seen like a law firm come in and execute on this whole new strategy that was created for them by a consultant. Because a lot of times, like, marketing consultants aren't there to, like, implement your digital marketing. They're not there to redesign your website. They're just there to say, like, "Your marketing sucks, and here's a new plan that you can try out." And I mean, like, of course, I've seen, like, website redesigns get launched. I've seen, like, new logos get launched. I've seen, like, brand colors. I've seen all that, like, basic shit. But as far as, like, we're changing absolutely everything about everything and implementing it, that never happens because it's just so much work. And that goes back to why I think marketing should be modular. Because, if you can change all your logos and all your emails, but, like, changing absolutely everything and rehashing absolutely everything is it's just too much to do. But yeah, it's better than doing nothing. Because honestly, like what I see a lot of these firms do is nothing. It's hire the marketer who does the bare minimum, but sometimes it's not even the marketer's fault. Like, they'll hire a marketer and then they say, like, "Okay, you make stuff and then run it through me, the attorney, and I'll approve it, and then we'll implement it." But then, like, often what happens is the attorney will get something back from their marketer, and they won't know how to critique it. They won't know if it's good or bad. They think it's good or they think it's bad, but then they try to do some research to find out, and then the research is inconclusive, and then it gets put on the back burner for 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, and then, like, 6 months later, the marketer's like, "Hey, that thing that I sent you, I've been waiting for feedback on. What if we do that?" And it's like, "Oh, I decided we're not doing that. We're doing something else." That's usually what I see happen, and that's, like, the death bell of marketing because it just becomes this process, and that's why you also said, like, you have to be outputting things to testing to be able to test things. You can't just not do anything and get back data. You have to do the marketing to get back the marketing data. And so, like, if you don't do anything, you don't get back the information you need to do more and build on your marketing strategy.
You mentioned building on that marketing strategy. You have to have a plan. You have to have a goal in mind of what do you wanna see. One thing that one of the best managers I ever worked for, he said, "How can I inspect your progress?" But he came to this department that I've been working in for 11 years. It was like almost 10 years at the time, but he came into this department from a totally different department. So he didn't really know all of the processes that someone at my level would follow necessarily, but it didn't stop him from being a good manager because his job was to inspect that I was on track with my process. He didn't have to know the entire process. So he asked me, he's like, "How can I inspect your progress?" And I was like, "Yeah, hey, like you can inspect when I'm by this far into this process, I need to be doing this. You can check in on this day, make sure I've done this. If I haven't done this yet, I'm behind. And you need to come find me and you need to get me remotivated to get back on track." Which all you need to do is threaten me with accountability and that'll remotivate me. So we're good. I'm the easiest coachable person ever. But then there's also that accountability part too, because if you expect something and you're paying for something, there should be some level of accountability. I think if you also go into this hiring somebody and going, "Please do it," you're I mean, you're hoping for the best, but you're not really prepared for the worst. And I think that a smart owner, or business owner of any kind, always needs to have a backup contingency plan for the worst. So number 1, making a very clear expectation about how you're gonna inspect progress, and also making it very clear of what's gonna happen if the project is not successful or done on time.
Oh. Well, and it there's so many layers to peel back there. Like, one, like, business owners hire a marketer and think, like, "This is the answer to my problems. I finally hired a marketer." And then, like, usually don't have that backup plan, like, aren't sure what to do when this person didn't work out, aren't sure, like, how to change their hiring to hire somebody better. Do I offer more money? Am I looking for the wrong skills? So, one, like, you can't go into each marketing hire and assume that it's your last marketing hire. You have to have a backup plan. You have to assume that each one is a trial period until it's not. So there's that. And then, like, the next point that I wanted to make, one of the next essential lesson of legal marketing, and this is actually, like, not exactly what Ben Glass taught me or what I learned through, Ben Glass and how he teaches marketing. I put my own thing on it, which is that all marketing doesn't have to be trackable, but it is always measurable. Which is to say that, like, if we wanted to make a TV ad and we put together a TV ad and we put it out there on the TV, people see it. We can't exactly make that trackable in the way that we can attribute, new people who call us about their case to that TV ad because, TV ad, maybe they saw it 100 times and they also saw a million other things we did in our marketing campaign or in our marketing. Or maybe they only saw it once, but they did see it, but they forgot about it. What if they saw it after they already started looking into, our law firm and it didn't like convert them, but it helped convert them? There are a lot of things about TV ads that are hard to track. And I think what commonly happens is people see a TV ad, they remember the law firm name, and then they Google it, and then they call the Google number. They came from a TV ad technically, but it's being attributed to Google. So, like, nowadays, like, and even with all the digital tools, it only seems to get worse. I know I think I mentioned this in, like, an email newsletter that I sent out or something, but I'm like, if there's one, like, girly thing that I'm kinda weird about, it's purses. Like, I've always, like, have been a purse person. Like, I've always like, Hermione's, like, endless bag in Harry Potter, that's, like, a huge turn on for me. I just feel I'm like, "Oh, that gets me going. I want that
Oh,
bag
I
so
want that I want that so bad.
I want that bag that has no bottom." Like, I am, like, into that. Anyway,
And
but that
she finds what she wants in there. If it is oh my god,
you
great to fall into the
I
trap.
wouldn't live in that purse.
I
Like,
live in that purse. I would be, like, shoulders deep, and I still wouldn't find what I need in there.
my office would be in there, like, I would exist within the purse and the pocket dimension of that purse. Anyway, I love purses. And earlier last week, I my little handbag that, just the smaller one that I carry on quick trips, like, I noticed that the fabric was starting to wear a little bit on the corners, and I was like, "Oh,
Time for a new purse.
I need a new purse." Huh? Oh, yeah.
Time for a new purse.
Time for a new purse. So I went on a purse website. I was looking up purses. And then, like, for the rest of the week, I see, like, retargeting ads. So, like, every app that I open, I see that purse being advertised, the one that caught my eye the most. When I open a website, I see it. It's all good marketing, all that good retargeting campaign stuff, which I can
Like, are
teach
you sure
somebody
you
how to
don't
do.
want it? Are you sure you don't want it?
Yep. And I did absolutely want it. And at the end of the week, I decided I was gonna buy it. So I went back to the website and bought the purse. But I'm a digital marketer, so I know that all of those ads that kept reminding me that I wanted this purse, that kept reminding me to buy this freaking purse, none of those ads will get credit for ultimately the purchase I made because I didn't click on the ads. I went back to the website, and bought the purse. Like, so there's no
I actually go to
digital.
Amazon.
Huh? No,
I
I,
use
I
it
don't.
Amazon.
I don't buy like if I can order it. I'm trying to order things off the native website if I can to avoid Amazon because I don't like Amazon sometimes.
Okay.
Well, there's too many, like, fake like, they're particularly with
That's
cosmetic,
true.
you gotta be careful, like, you might order something that's just a total fake, and it's the same brand anyway. But so but anyway, like, Amazon hits you with those retargeting ads, so I didn't even go back to Amazon, I went back to their website, there's no way they know that their ads work, but their ads work. So, like, you can't track that kind of interaction, you can't say Tiffany bought because of those ads, but you could, measure the impact those ads are having on your overall strategy by, like, taking, like, this is when we started it, this is when we stopped it, how did that affect overall sales? And I mean, so that it's measurable, but it's not exactly trackable. And so you have to have that bit of faith with your marketing sometimes. And a lot of business owners don't.
It's sort of like attributed.
Yes. Yeah. That's exactly what we call it in digital marketing is attribution or attributed. Let me say I don't know. Yeah. It's the same word, but
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay. You know what I
um,
mean? Moving on.
it's like saying advertisement instead of advertisement.
I'm going to make an advertisement to the laboratory.
Advertisement. Are you serious? Do you
Advertisement.
think oh, anyway. So, and I think that was all the things I was gonna talk about as far as marketing tracking is like you have to take a little bit of a leap of faith. You have to trust the process, something that you said earlier when we're talking about when in doubt, focus on out, but you have to trust the process. And like really like at the end of the day, like more marketing is better for your brand than less marketing. And so like even good or bad, it's all kind of net positive, and doing anything is always gonna be better than doing nothing at all. I'll have one more point, so it's just my
Yes.
5th marketing point, which is my last one. Don't marry your marketing ideas. Like, for the marketer, like, it helps to protect your ego a little bit going into a marketing role particularly when you're working with a small business owner, because you don't wanna get into a situation where you're like, "I have this great idea, I wanna implement it," and the business owner just doesn't like it and has to tell you no, like, 1, that kinda and then 2, like, what if you do implement it and it doesn't work? It was the idea that you fought to implement for, like, the last, like, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, like, how do you handle that? And I think that's the moments where, like, people make or break their marketing careers because either you're the type of person who realizes like that was just one idea out of the many marketing ideas I'm going to have over a long career. That one didn't work. I'll move on. I'll recover. Those people go on to do a lot more marketing. But then, like, I have seen people get stuck, like, the marketing idea that they thought would work didn't work, and they just keep trying to implement the same version or the same idea, but, like, different versions of that same idea, and then it just becomes like this hamster wheel of, like, trying to implement something that's just not working or not gonna work. Maybe it's a situation where you thought people were more like you than you overestimated how good your idea was, overestimated how well it would resonate. But at the end of the day, like, you have to be able to like, if it doesn't work, put it aside and move on and implement, the next idea and understand that not all of your ideas are gonna work, and that's okay.
You mentioned something that emotional intelligence piece, you know, and one thing that they talked about at the women's conference this last week was you have to expect criticism, like everybody's going to have a different set of experiences and a different lens that they're looking through. You might look through your lens and have really put a lot of thought and thoughtful effort and creativity and yourself into a pitch or an idea or a project or whatever the case may be, and other people are gonna see it through a totally different lens. And those lenses are what make us better because your lens is just one view. But if you can combine all of those lenses and you can change that idea and you can allow others in on it and put their input, not only is it gonna be the best idea, it's gonna evolve to that, but it'll fit the criteria of what's expected by the firm itself. I think that there's 2 sides to that, and they're both at play at the same time.
Yeah, and all marketing is collaborative. Even if you are the only person who's built the marketing campaign, it's still collaborative because you're putting out something that other people will interact with, other people will give you feedback on, whether or not you mean them to give you feedback or not. If somebody doesn't interact with your marketing, if they don't click on it, then they didn't like it, and that's their feedback. But it's always collaborative. Marketing is always collaborative. Art is always collaborative in that respect. And you just have to accept that it's not going to work for everyone. Your approach isn't going to work for everyone. And then specifically when it comes to business, like there for me, like I always try to like draw that line between art and business. Because like art is fun, art is a creative outlet. Art might mean something to one person and nothing to a million people, but it's still valuable. When it comes to like business and marketing though, that's not the case. Like the art that matters is the art that appeals to the most people, that resonates to the most people and brings the most people in. It's more like making a Disney movie than like a Picasso painting. And so like it's important to like, not I guess put your whole body and soul into a marketing piece because again, like it's only one example of something you're gonna make over hopefully a long marketing career and, so if you're gonna make the same thing every day, like, it's not all gonna have, like not all gonna be, like, that serious, I guess. Like, don't put your heart and soul into it because it's not your heart and soul. Marketing.
And that's something that we have to tell each other all the time, like, especially in my level of leadership and and above. It's like, they're not gonna paint the company's logo on your gravestone, you know? Like, you gotta keep this in perspective. You gotta keep it in take it in stride. You're not this company, and the failure or the success of this project is not a reflection of you.
Yeah.
It's not a direct reflection. There is a little bit of a reflection, but what matters the most is how you respond to it, whether it works or it fails. If it fails, you learn, you change, you do better. You learn, you change, you do better. If it succeeds, there's also a response to that that's going to shape your character as well. And I think
Yeah.
that not only just shaping character, but shaping the outcome. Like if you are successful in something and you respond in a very cocky way, you might lose the buy-in of team, and then you won't be able to have as many good projects or successes moving on.
Yeah. And then also, like, it's hard to know, like, when an idea is a good idea or when it's a bad idea. Because like I've been marketing at this point long enough that I've seen good ideas become bad ideas and vice versa. I've actually even heard literally like hand to God, like I'll never forget this happening the first time. I've heard an idea that I gave to my boss once and have him said that's a bad idea come out of his mouth later as a good idea. And if you're a marketer and you're working for anyone, like big business, small business, that kind of thing is going to happen to you. And eventually, like it just becomes part of the flow, and it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter that that was originally Tiffany's idea and somebody stole it because we implemented it and we got cases and the world moved on. Whether Tiffany was right or wrong, or whether you were right or wrong, the world still moved on. Nobody cares.
You have the results, you have the credit, and you have the takeaway, I guess, of what you perceive from it. So, you may not get the credit, but you did see the result, and you were able to take that away and apply it to
Yeah.
whatever you did in the future, and if the credit is the only thing you lost out of that, you came out a winner.
Yeah. Well, and also just to put a nice little spin on it, like well, and you put a nice spin on it, but to add my nice little spin on it, but, like, it doesn't matter who gets the credit, like, because 'cause I've worked on other people's ideas and have done, like, good things with their ideas, and people have been like, "Oh, that was such a good idea, Tiffany." And it's like, "That wasn't my idea, it was actually somebody else's." So, like, it all comes down to it what work you put into it, people will respect that, people will acknowledge that. It doesn't matter where the idea came from, whether it was yours or somebody else's. And, people are pretty gracious with that, and you don't have to battle it out with your boss about which
You
ideas are
you
being carried out, which aren't.
you sorry, you know what I've started doing? You just
But
reminded me of this, and it just, like, inspired me so much just now. I've actually started positioning things so that they are my idea, but I'm getting them to say it, so it sounds like their idea,
yeah.
and it's in front of other people, so I'm like, "That's a great idea you just had, let's go with that."
One trick that I've learned in marketing is to take something that somebody else worked on, that they like, their good idea and, like, build on it, and, like, get them to, like, help hype up your marketing idea. So you could say, like, "Hey, you remember that project you worked on where you built out this newsletter? I have an idea where we're going to sell that newsletter. You wanna help me out?" And then, like, you have, 2 people kind of endorsing an idea. And then if it was something like your boss worked on, you almost have, like, instant buy-in. Like, "Hey, boss, you remember that thing that you worked on that nobody ever did anything with? I figured out something to do with it." In the marketing department, they're gonna be like, "Yeah. Yeah, no, they're gonna love that."
So much value in that.
I saw yeah, exactly. And, so if you do wanna get your idea pushed to the top, like, leverage your boss's stuff, that's the way to do it. I had, like, one other point, but it's the idea of, like, don't be a naysayer. So, I'm working with a law firm, we're doing a community marketing campaign that involves schools, and essentially, we're trying to give away something really nice to a teacher, where we're giving him away a free cruise, and that was the thing, it was a nice thing, right? It's like giving a teacher a free cruise.
Wait, Carnival or
I don't I don't know, because I've not been on cruises enough to have a preference. But I think it was in all actuality, it was like we hooked them up with a travel agent and basically said to the travel agent, "Here's money, book them on a trip." And, like, not unlimited funds, like, we
oh,
preset the money, so it was whatever they settled on, I think, is what it ended up.
hey, if they're just throwing money at me, I'm gonna get a place on one of those bear cruises where it's just
Their
a bunch of
cruises.
guys.
I thought for a hot second, I thought it was a cruise where you got to tour the coast and see, like, bears. No, they're somehow better. Okay. Beer, I'll put that on my bucket list. Anyway, so we setting up this community marketing campaign. We're giving a teacher essentially a free cruise. And one person who's no longer with the firm, like, only had, was basically naysaying it. It's like, "Well, I don't think the schools will let us do that. I don't think the teacher will have time. Like, what if they wanna do this? What do they wanna do that?" Whenever we talked about this, like, they only brought up, like, problems and ways that they thought this marketing idea wouldn't work. And, I've been in their shoes before, like, I've seen my bosses, like, brainstorm on an idea where I'm like, this will never work. This is not gonna work, not a good idea, we're gonna waste our time." And I've been the person to be like, "Hey, like, have we thought about this? Have we critiqued that? Workshop
Gotta
that?"
to position it and question it, like, instead of being like, "It won't work," being like, "Have we thought about this?"
Well, and I mean, positioning it is important because you definitely don't wanna be the naysayer. Like, you want to, like, yes and them. This is what another
Yeah.
boss, like, told me, like, you wanna yes and them, you don't wanna no but them.
No, but
Yeah, you wanna build on it. But, like, even if it is a bad idea, like, if your boss has, like, it has, like, a bad idea, and you've done all the polite things you can do to try to talk him out of it, if they still wanna do it, just let them do it. Let them do it and happily help them implement it, 'cause after all, they're still paying you, and they're probably not paying you commission on the leads you bring in. And if they do, then maybe it's more of a conversation there, but that's rare. And so just don't be a naysayer, I guess. That's my secret sixth rule if we're or lesson or whatever we're gonna take out of this. I don't know if that resonates with a lot of people or not, but it's definitely something that's up there on my list.
And you draw so much more support in a team of people that you can then pick and choose and select and draw from. If you draw people in, if they feel like they might have a voice at the table. If you are running a table where it's like, "Hey, everybody has a seat, everybody has a voice, let's get it all out there. We may not select everything, but at least we'll have some ideas flowing and we'll be comfortable enough to work with each other." Versus it's strict, "You can't sit with us unless you wear pink on Wednesdays," like a little bit more those groups usually don't have the best success rates. It's usually the groups that have the open platform, "Hey, everybody, let's collaborate, let's get some people talking here," and giving a safe place to speak from your heart rather than having to feel like everything you say that you really worked hard for and you put yourself into is just gonna get shot down and slapped away. Nothing will demotivate somebody quicker
Yeah.
than to have something that they are passionate and love swiped away.
I've definitely seen that. Like, I've been in this situation once where I was the person in the room who said, "What about ads on Reddit?" And it was a bad idea. I learned it was a bad idea by looking into ads on Reddit for the thing that we were doing. I think ads on Reddit would probably work if it's the right situation, but I don't wanna bore anyone, so I won't go into the details. But for what we were trying to do, Reddit ads were a bad idea, and I learned that the hard way by trying to implement it, trying to experiment with it. And then, like, in a different room, couple years down the road, I saw the same thing happen. A baby marketer says, "What about Reddit ads?" And, like, the entire room, like, remembered when Tiffany tried that and how it didn't work and was like, "No, boo, boo, Reddit, boo." I felt so bad for that marketer because it was like, well, okay, like, they're just being handed the criticism that your idea was a bad idea. I actually had a better experience because they let me try it and I got to find out for myself and it's just a way different way of receiving the message. And
Yeah,
you
that's a
gotta let
really good
people.
way to compare that experience, like, it's the exact same idea, and a lot of probably the same people that were in the room both times, but it was a totally different response.
It was. And so, like, you gotta be like, if you're the boss and you're leading a marketing team, you gotta be mindful, like, is it just my ideas that are getting through? And because, like, your employees will pick up on that. If you're in a marketing department and only the lead or, like, the pet or the one person or whatever is getting their ideas through, like, other people are gonna realize that, and without demoralizing them, like, verbally, like I described, you're demoralizing, like, systematically, I guess.
You talk about positive bias,
Yeah.
actually, because there might be a leader out there like Michael Scott, the Michael Scott of marketing leaders might be like, "Oh my god, I just wanted to pick the best idea." And it really legitimately looked like the best idea. And I mean, there's no better, like, mascot for positive bias than Michael Scott. Like, everything that he did was with the best intentions in heart, but it was so poorly executed, and he didn't look at the whole picture. And then, like, he just saw this one thing and he went after it. But you do have to kinda take a step back, take a breath, and there were moments in the show where he did that. But you have to very more frequently and build a habit and a routine of doing this as well, taking a step back, looking at it from all angles, and the best way that you can be efficient doing that is asking your people questions, asking the room, "Hey, what could go wrong with this?" And also, if you have something negative to contribute, you gotta put the facts out there. Sometimes you do have to be a little bit of the start to like, hang on, have we considered this? But what's the plan to overcome it? It's the goal should never be to shut it down. The goal should be, how do we make it come to life? And even the same thing with the Reddit ads. It's like, hey, that's a great idea. So many years ago, Tiffany ran that and ran into these roadblocks. If you can start with what we already did and go from there and find a way around it and make it feasible and make it work, have at it.
Yeah.
But until then, we have these options as well.
So you said something really important there. Don't be a naysayer, but, like, if there's something important you need to say, bring it to the table, but how'd you put it? Like, with the intention of overcoming it and not with the intention of shutting things down. And I think that's an important distinction because if you have something like important, people you bring it to the table. Like if you know that that's not going to work, you have past experience or you feel like it's the wrong message and you have a gut feeling, like share that gut feeling because those are important, but like with the intention of overcoming the issue and not like we need to stop this shit right now. Because, like, it's that, like, trying to stop marketing, I hate it. Like, even if you do have good intentions, like, I just really kind of we need to get marketing done. Let's not hold things back.
I mean, and it makes a lot of sense too because when you're talking about building on people that are well motivated, who are self motivated, self driven, who are going to do good work for you, you want to surround yourself with those people. You want those kind of people making up your team, and that's how you keep them on board. You don't want to accidentally, inadvertently drive them away or demoralize or demotivate them unintentionally because you'll never get their maximum potential or it might take longer to draw it out of them. So, if you just make that kind of your standard, your default, you're inevitably gonna keep the best people around you, and it'll kind of, in its own way, weed out the ones that really shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Oh, yeah, nothing kills creativity in a marketing department like repeatedly shutting down people's ideas. So, include everyone, listen to everyone, and be open to other people's stuff. But don't naysay people, don't shut people down. Those are just important things just to build these relationships with the people that we're managing, with the people who are managing us, whatever. And so we can grow the marketing, all that good stuff.